I am a elementary teacher leader at Brookside Elementary, 6th grade English teacher at Odyssey Academy, and an adjunct professor in the literacy department at St. John Fisher College. So we had a needs assessment that was conducted earlier in the school year with Brookside families, and what really was elicited from that survey is that parents needed more help with Common Core standards, understanding it, and then being able to transfer that into the home setting and really helping their kids understand the standards and what they needed to do with homework and whatnot. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there right now around Common Core programs and curriculum and assessment, really. So I think what is so beneficial is we really start to take those standards apart and look at what they actually mean.
I'm Chelsea Lindsay. I am a long-term sub in this classroom. This is a kindergarten classroom. I am a special education teacher along with Heidi Mentier, who is our general education teacher in this classroom.
I'm Shannon Ryan. I teach at Williamson Elementary School in the 811 classroom, so I have grades 3, 4, and 5 right now.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly go over some of the standards and how they've changed from the previous standards when the Common Core was implemented, and what they mean now for your students and why it's important that you understand the shifts that have taken place with these standards. And then we'll talk about the programs that Greece uses. They're called Skill Strand, which focuses on phonics and their basic skills of knowing words. And then we'll do listening and learning, which is more their comprehension and understanding of text and learning new information.
So the first standard, reading for literature, focuses on exposing the students to more of a variety and large range of texts and building that rigor and stamina so children are able to read for longer extended periods of time and be able to become more independent as they grow throughout the grades. And as you can see, we just focused on K through 2, and this is just one of the many standards that they have for reading literature. And as you can see in kindergarten, it starts with prompting and support, ask and answer questions about key details in the text. In grades 1, it gets away from more of the prompting and support to become more independent, to ask and answer questions about key details in the text. And then as you see in grade 2, it becomes more specific, asking and answering questions such as who, what, where, when, and why, and demonstrating understanding of the key details within the text.
And then with reading for informational text, they really want us to focus on this strongly. The state is encouraging it because students are less exposed to informational text than they are fiction stories that they would read at home more likely. But it's important that they understand how to read these informational texts, because as they go to college and career readiness, that's what they're going to need to be able to find information from. That's where they're going to pull most of their knowledge from. So this standard focuses on them knowing the main ideas of these texts and also the key details within them, and knowing the information and being able to back up their thoughts and their conclusions with basis and evidence from that text. This standard, again, it starts with prompting and support from the teacher, asking specific questions and then being able to answer them. And then in first grade, it moves on to them being able to do that on their own. They just need to be able to tell you the main idea when you say it. Ask them to. Also in grade 2, then it moves on to not only knowing the main topic and key details, but reading a multi-paragraph text, as well as the focus on specific paragraphs within that text. So knowing where to pull the information from, knowing what they need to know. So as you can see, as the grades go up in level, they get a little bit more independent, a little bit more in depth, and that goes along with the rigor that they're trying to build within our students.
And if you have a chance tonight, look at the different workbooks, you can see that in kindergarten it starts off with more simple sentences, and then in first grade it builds some multi-sentence paragraphs, and then in second grade it builds some multi-paragraph pages to 1 and 2 pages, and it's building that rigor and stamina as well.
And then this standard focuses, the skill strand that we as Greece use for our students focuses on this standard mostly. It talks about just the concepts of print. So at the beginning of most of our lessons for kindergarten, we go over it. This is the cover page of a book. This is the table of contents. This is how you use the table of contents. Turn to page 25 so they know how to find that page number and just know how to use a book in general. And then it moves on to alphabetical knowledge, so learning the letters and learning the sounds that go along with them, and not only that, but learning specific combinations of letters and how they sound. And then using basic conventions in their reading and writing. So the skill strand is something that's taught daily, and it's, like I said, focuses on the basics of reading and writing. And with this Common Core and this program, they don't look at reading as one thing and writing as another. They teach them with each other and in correspondence with each other now. They want students to really understand that the better I can read, the better I can write. The more I read, the better I'll be able to write. The more I write, the more words I'll know when I'm reading. So they really want students to grasp that they're not something that's completely separate from each other. They're completely paired together. Also, we focus on teaching them the letter sound correspondences. But in kindergarten, just so you all know, I don't know what grade level your students are in, we did not start out with teaching them the names of letters. We more started with B. What letter is B? And that's when we would have them write the letter B. And then we gradually taught them the names of the letters as we went through it. And right now, for instance, in kindergarten, we're focusing on digraphs. And a lot of your students, if they are kindergartners, they'll be able to tell you what a digraph is. I ask them explicitly, what is a digraph, and before we start every lesson. And they'll tell me it's 2 letters that make 1 sound. And I'll say, what is ch? And they'll write ch. And then we go, okay, now it's ch. Now we know it's ch. And we focus more on the sounds before we do the names of the letters, because that's more important when you're reading. And then with our skill strand, after those specific skills are taught to them, we pair them with the books that are in front of you. They're called our readers. And as we teach that skill, it has a chapter in the book that goes along with that skill, and it's explicitly taught and focused on in that chapter of that book. So if I taught them today, I taught them digraphs and CH and SH and what those sounds make. What we read today will have those sounds in it, and what we read tomorrow will also have those sounds in it, and we'll build on each other. And there's corresponding worksheets that go along with those. So we'll teach a skill, do a worksheet about it, read about it. So they get it in many different modes, so they're writing it and reading it. This is the big book. The kids have small versions of them. But for instance, what I was saying, right now we're focusing on tricky words, which are words that can't be sounded out. And they underline them in the text. It's underlined in their books as well, but has the U sound, so it's a tricky word because it doesn't read the same. It's underlined, so they know we just focused on this, we just learned this in class, it's underlined, what did we learn? When they're reading it, they can focus on that one specific thing that was taught. And it just goes on, or like letters will be bolded, so they know that that's the skill we just focused on when they're reading.
Next is the listening and learning. And this portion of the program focuses on different read-alouds that are more focused on informational text, and the goal is to acquire language skills and experiences such as listening to develop that academic vocabulary and to broaden their knowledge of science and history or social studies within the concepts of reading and writing. And teachers and students engage in different read-alouds that allow them to see a variety of texts, and then they'll have the ability to go and reread them later independently. So an example for first grade is the human body, and what the students see is this picture, and then the teacher will read this aloud to them. And it says, like, hi everyone, it's Dr. Wellbody, the rhyming pediatrician, back to talk about the human body. Did you figure out what we're going to talk about this time? And so the students would be able to look at the picture and make a prediction as to what they might think the next topic's going to be about. And then you can say, that's right, muscles. Your muscles help your body move, so you can walk, breathe, swallow, speak, and do many other things. Together, your muscles make up your muscular system. And then it goes into asking some guiding questions that the teacher has that activates some of their prior knowledge on things that they read about the day before, as well as making connections to the new things that they're reading today or in future lessons.
But as the lesson goes on, it would turn to then this.
And then the teacher, again, would read, there are 650 muscles in your body. Some muscles are big, like the ones in your legs. Some are small, like the ones in your face. Muscles crisscross the body so you can move in many ways. Muscles move by contracting, or getting shorter, and relaxing, or getting bigger, or longer. And before the listening and learning, or while you're doing it, teachers will often go over some of that academic vocabulary that students might not know, again, developing more vocabulary for the students that might not be grade level appropriate, but it's, again, building that knowledge of those vocabulary words.
And each grade level team, the teachers for each team have come together and made actually vocabulary packets that go along with these lessons. So words that they may not understand, they make a packet, and in the second grade one and the first grade ones over there, they look at the word, they find the definition, then they put it in their own words, then they draw a picture of it, so they really get to understand those new words that they're using so they can build their knowledge and build their vocabulary set when they're reading through these texts, so they really understand what's going on.
And while reading and after reading, the teacher will often ask the kids different types of questions, more literal questions, and then some more inferential questions where the students have to make those connections and be able to build on their prior knowledge. And that's really something that you can do at home too with your kids. While you're reading any story with them, you can just stop and have a discussion and talk about maybe words that they might not know, or ask them certain questions. And in the back, we left a bookmark with different questions that you could ask your child while reading with them at home, just to kind of engage them in those types of discussions to get more practice.
Thought-provoking questions that you could use with them. So things that that you can do with your children at home to really help them understand more and help them develop these skills more is just reading with them at home is really important, making sure that you're paying attention to what's coming home in their folders. I know that in the skills books at every grade level there are letters that actually come home to the parents, and sometimes they may be overlooked when you're just taking the papers out of the folders. There's so many, but there's a paragraph at the top of them, and it does happen with math as well sometimes. It explains what skill they were learning that day, and it explains how to use that skill with them and what was taught and how it was taught, and then it'll have an activity you can do with them to focus on that skill again.
Just real quick, and often the stories that get sent home are the stories that they're reading in class, so it's really important too just to build that deeper understanding and that repetition to help your child acquire those skills. And the bold words too are words that we go over in class or focus on the skill, like they're working on the diagraph, so those will be bold in the reading that gets sent home with your child.
And then also asking them direct and indirect questions, so, you know, what was the dog's name, but also then, why did the dog do that? So just simple things, indirect, and so they can think about the book in different ways. And then making sure you're working with them on the worksheets that get sent home is really important, because then you'll have a better understanding of what they're learning, so you can better help them. And one thing that I think really helps parents and students read together is reading along with them, and maybe letting them, like depending on their grade level, read the simpler words within the text, but then if it comes to a difficult word, you read with them, so you kind of alternate words, and it helps them to build their fluency, so they don't lose the comprehension of what was happening in the story, but they also get exposure to those more difficult words, and they're practicing the words that they do know. So doing paired reading with them really would help them at home.
One thing too that you could do, a lot of like the words that they're working on in class get sent home to fill in the blanks, or like the tricky words I know get sent home a lot too. You can practice like even writing those words in fun ways, like in shaving cream sometimes we write the words. You could say spell the, and then they could write it in shaving cream on the table, and it's really easy to clean up. Or you could finger paint, just different ways to get your child engaged in those hands-on activities to help kind of develop that understanding.
A lot of our resources that we got were from the Engage New York website, which is available to parents completely. Everything that is available to us as teachers and professionals is available to all parents, including lesson plans, answer keys, and other supports for your student.
I think it's just important to engage your child at home as much as possible in different reading and writing activities to help support their growth throughout their educational process.
I think it really helps parents to know what's going on in the classroom and know what's going on with the Common Core to be able to help their students achieve better and just gain knowledge. And our society is changing, so students need to know so much more that it really does help to have support at home and know how to support your students.
Yeah, I think it's been very beneficial, and I think it's kind of helped ease the transition into the Common Core, and parents have asked some great questions and asked how to help at home, and it's been really great to see parents come out and support their students.